Hi there, it's Nicole, and today I have a mom-themed card showcasing the Whimsy Stamps Mom's Layered Flowers stamp set. This is a gorgeous stamp set with beautiful flowers and a whole bunch of great greetings perfect for mom. I am going to be stamping a card perfect for just a thank you to mom or Mother's Day here today. I die cut a rectangle using the A2 sized Whimsy Stamps hand stitched rectangle die, and then I've stamped greetings from the stamp set with a black ink on this watercolor cardstock. Next, I kind of went over the entire surface of the rectangle with a powder bag tool, and then I'm stamping flowers from the Mom's Layered Flowers stamp set using Versamark ink. I use the powder tool because that's going to help keep the embossing powder only on the flowers so that it doesn't migrate elsewhere. As I'm stamping the flowers, I am sprinkling the embossing powder in place. That way I can see where I've already been. It's a little hard to tell in the video. When I tip the paper at an angle, it's a little easier to see. I am using both the large and small size of the flower. I love these, and this is the outline. There's also a filler shape. You can see it there on the grid paper on my work surface. I was kind of playing around with some colors, seeing what I liked before I got started. So it's going to kind of not completely fill in, but it's going to give that little bit of color. And what I decided to do was to stamp that pop of color with a distress ink and then paint that distress ink out into the entire petal, giving it that two-tone look. So it's going to be super quick and easy. In fact, the most time-consuming part of this entire card creation was stamping each of these flowers and sprinkling the embossing powder on in between each of those. I'm using a dry paintbrush to remove any embossing powder from that greeting, and then I'm going to heat that up. Starting with some Wild Honey Distress ink, I'm going to stamp that right there on the flower, and then with a damp paintbrush, pull that color out into the entire petal. You can see that there's that great two-tone of the color that way. Really, really pretty. Next, I'm going to use a little spiced marmalade for my next flower. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can see it did not stamp really cleanly all the way around, but that's okay. This is a very organic, imperfect type of technique. It's simply to get that color laid down so you get that kind of hint of the darker part of the petal, and then pull the color out with your paintbrush. I did kind of go in with the spice marmalade and add a little darker areas to some of those places that didn't stamp as perfectly. This is a little Dusty Concord, adding a little pop of color here. There's also the solid image for the smaller flower, which is what I use there. And before I move on to another color, I'm going to do a couple of these Dusty Concord flowers. As I started this, I wasn't exactly sure what all colors I wanted to use. I started with the yellows and the orange and kind of went, oh, I want a little bit more color. And so I pulled in the Dusty Concord and now some picked raspberry. And even at this, I thought these four colors was going to be plenty for my card. But as I kind of worked my way out, one flower at a time, I ended up pulling in some red. I just love the addition of something red in almost every card I create. I don't know what it is, but I think it just kind of helps draw your eye in, kind of balances it all out. At least for me, it does. So there are my picked raspberry flowers. I did decide then that I needed another Dusty Concord flower, kind of give that nice visual triangle. You can see that it goes from the left up to the right and then down to the lower right. Letting all my flowers air dry, not heating them. You definitely could if you wanted to. Now I need to pull in a little bit more of that yellow, so a little more wild honey up here at the top. Again, kind of the opposite visual triangle with the tip of the triangle up at the top of the card, and then it goes down and then to the right. And here's a little barn door where I'm adding in those red flowers. So I'm going to have the red flower hanging off the left side. I'll have another red flower hanging off the bottom, but I felt like, again, I needed that kind of finishing touch to my visual triangle, so I added just a tiny bit of stamping to the top right corner of my card and added a little red there as well. I took a little Mowed Lawn Distress ink, pressed it to an acrylic block, and then picked it up with a damp paintbrush to color in the centers of all of my flowers. Once my panel's completely dry, I'm going to attach it to a top fold card base using a nice strong adhesive. Press that in place. This is beautiful the way it is, but I decided to go ahead and take some pearl gemstones and scatter those throughout some of the open areas of my card. You could even, maybe instead of this, you could definitely, as you're stamping the flowers to begin with, add in some of the leaves and things to fill in those open areas, maybe a little bit more, and have leaves and flowers. I think that would be pretty as well. But I wanted a little bit of a dimensional type of embellishment, so I went with these pearl gemstones for my card here. Once I have all those little open areas filled in, my card is going to be finished. And I think this would be beautiful in all kinds of colors and any kind of greeting. It definitely does not have to be a Mother's Day type of greeting for this card design. Thanks for watching this video showcasing the Whimsy Stamps Mom's Layered Flowers stamp set, brand new for the April 2016 release. The supplies I've used to create this card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Please subscribe for weekly card making and stamping videos. Here are a couple more Whimsy Stamps videos you might be interested in. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.